Thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back. The Kaduna State Governor is inviting investors in and outside of the country to consider the state as their one-stop shop investment destination. Governor Nasser El-Rufai, who was speaking at the 3rd Kaduna Investment Summit, gave the assurance that improved infrastructure will give the businesses good return for their investment. The governor also promises the construction of at least 6 specialist hospitals in the state, 3 secondary healthcare centers in each local government area, and at least 61.5 billion naira spent on education every year.
Affects how the states will be shaped in the...
It's the 3rd edition of the Kaduna Investment Summit, an investors' roundtable the state government began in 2016 to kickstart a 5-year investment plan
we've ever produced in our dear country, Nigeria.
And after 3 years, there are evidence that the plan is moving as desired.
We have so far attracted investment in affordable housing equivalent to about $100 million. Vicampro, another agribusiness, is building the largest potato farm and processing plant in Nigeria in Kaduna State, an investment of about $100 million. We've also attracted nearly $40 million of investment to build neighborhood centers and markets all across the state, with potential jobs of over 2,000.
Despite this harvest of investment, the governor is not pleased by what he called the imbalanced flow of investment.
What we found interesting when we analyzed the last 3 years is that 79% of all the investment that we attracted to Kaduna State are foreign investments. Only 21% is domestic. This is both good news and worrying news. It is good news because it means that foreign investors has taken notice of Kaduna and are coming. But it is also worrying because it means that we are not doing enough to attract domestic investors.
The former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, sir.
The former president of the Republic of Tanzania, who gives the keynote address, joins the governor in his call for more investors.
The investment opportunities and potential which Kaduna State has to offer have been very well narrated. Indeed, this state has immense investment opportunities. Therefore, it makes a lot of economic sense for investors to decide to invest in this great state. They will not regret. Definitely.
More calls, but this time by His Royal Majesty Ooni of Ife, Adeyeye Ogunwusi, who is calling for maturity among the political class.
All the members of the Senate from Kaduna State should come and join hands with the governor. They will have their respective political differences. Let them put that aside. They shouldn't lose opportunities because of their differences.
This summit is the 3rd of the 5 years in prospect. The governor is optimistic that the returns from this outing will have a long-lasting impact years to come.
The Vice President is asking Nigerians to focus more on the expenditure of states rather than giving all attention to the federal government. Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who criticized the low internally generated revenue from states across the country, explains that state governors should be held responsible for funding healthcare services. The Vice President insists that Nigeria's biggest challenge remains corruption and integrity and wants Nigerians to hold politicians accountable for their actions while in office, especially those who go into office to loot the public treasury. The Vice President, who was speaking at the Civic Innovation Hub in Abuja, the nation's capital, adds that if 70% of Nigeria's finance is channeled into the right areas, the nation wouldn't be in its current situation. The former governor of Niger State, Muazu Babangida Aliyu, is accusing the federal government of waging a selective war against corruption. He describes the publication of the alleged list of looters as a demonstration of incompetence by institutions charged with handling issues of corruption in Nigeria. In an exclusive interview with Channels Television, the former governor accused the APC of attempting to blackmail those who have refused to join the party or are critical about the government.
Since the government, this government came into power, they looked at anybody who is not directly in their party as an enemy, not even an opponent. They might have forgotten all the roles that other people played in bringing it. And 5 of my G7 members, who are members of PDP, are now in APC. If you look at the list, among the governors that they have, more than half were members of PDP. So if PDP members were looters, then they should look inward for those who probably looted the Nigerian treasury. You see, part of the problem is because we don't have strong institutions. A strong institutions will say, I have investigated so-so-so person, and I've not found anything against him. Therefore, I cannot go ahead with what you are doing. And you tell your boss that. And you show him what you have done so far. But because of the eye service nature and the lack of institutionalization of our institutions, individuals look at the signals from their bosses. Some people even go to bribe their ways to say, you must intimidate this particular person.
One of the leading cereal producing companies in Nigeria, Govts Tolerance, is set to boost its production capacity to deliver top-notch taste and nutritional value to its customers. The company's human resources manager, Liasu Yusuf, explains that Govts Tolerance remains committed to the production of world-class cereal products and compliance to local content. He was speaking during a facilitator tour of Kellogg's 10 billion naira factory.
This is the first Kellogg's plant in Africa after 70 years. It was inaugurated by the chairman of Kellogg's, Mr. John Bryant, and chairman of Tolerance, Mr. Mohan Vaswani, in December 2017. It's a world-class facility, creating employment for thousands of Nigerians. This is a preparatory session in the Kellogg's cereal factory. The Kellogg's quality control team is keen on premium quality, exquisite taste, using the highest hygiene standards and world-class equipment.
You have to check that the egg is to a particular standard so that the food will be protected.
As a result of Kellogg's factory's strong commitment to excellence, it also been vouched for by the sales director of GMT Nigeria Limited.
It's amazing to see a factory this clean and this professional in Nigeria. There's something you don't expect when you come make a move here. And the fact that it's part of the free trade zone and actually has been able to feed the huge population of Nigeria. It's a big example, and I hope that it can act as an anchor client for more factories to set up shop properly here and to have the faith that Nigeria is actually a really good country to invest in, and well, it's the next big thing.
In order to meet the demands of its consumers, Kellogg's is boosting its production and manpower capacity. The Kellogg's Tolerance is set to maintain the lead in the cereal manufacturing industry as a high-performance-driven team committed to excellence and consumers' satisfaction.
Time for today's business news, and here is Emana Amawe.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The just concluded Central Bank MPC meeting had committee members unanimously voting to maintain rates at existing levels. And in reaction to this development, economists and financial analysts see the decision as a fair deal, but recommend stabilizing prices at the forex market.
The primary mandate of monetary policy is actually meant to be price stability. Yes, there has been debate, there has been arguments about the fact that you need as well, to consider growth a mandate, and as well to even look at, employment generation as well. I think the CBN governor actually made a very important point and very clear that we need to allude to, and that is the fact that you have a price stability objective in terms of both commodity prices and the currency price, which is, exchange rate. If you are able to achieve that, and I think that is the phase in which the Monetary Policy Committee is at this particular time.
The CBN has gradually guided towards a reduction in rates, and that's why you're seeing that across benchmarks, whether you're looking at the treasury bills or, in fact, we are beginning to see rate convergence between the short-term interest rate and the long-term interest rate, on the average at about 13.6%. This is speaking volume as to whether it is the MPR that anchors the market rate or market players, decide independently based on market, demand and supply conditions. And essentially, that is what we've seen in the market.
Leading indigenous energy group Oando, listed on both the Nigerian and Johannesburg Stock Exchange, has unveiled its office complex in Lagos. The 27,000 square meter edifice, branded as Wings Office Complex, was commissioned by the Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Pt.3.
Wings Office Complex is relatively new on Osinbajo Road, Victoria Island, Lagos. It's a twin 12-story Grade A building of lettable space sitting on 27,000 square meters of land. Converging on the building today are dignitaries and other invited guests to witness the unveiling of this smart and energy-efficient edifice.
And we invested, together with the partners, approximately $150 million in developing this structure. Our bankers were RMB Bank and Standard Bank of South Africa were the two investors. And we also had partners in the project, which were, one was a Standard Bank as it was, as a bank. They invested in the project in the equity of the company, and the company was called Oando Wings Limited.
Stanbic IBTC and Standard Bank Group are proud to have supported the completion of this landmark office complex, which will serve as the benchmark for investment grade A properties in Nigeria.
And just before the commissioning proper, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Pt.3, describes the project as lending support to the vision of government.
Oando, whether it's through your filling stations you develop, whether it is through the very many support you give to government, whether it is through the people that you employ, whether it is through your presence in very many countries, and I've been to so many countries in which I see Oando, unlike no other company in Nigeria, being physically present and taking part in literally every seminar that happens in the world.
Oando's concept of office complex is patterned after contemporary models, incorporating retail outlets and other amenities with an outdoor waterfront area.
I think having investments like this certainly help us manage the downturn, and we've been able to complete this project even in the height of the challenges in our economy.
Now officially open, Wings is not only home to Oando and other leading brands, it has also transformed the Lagos skyline.
The Nigeria Police Microfinance Bank is reporting a strong performance in its full-year results as at December 2017. The company's gross earnings grew to 3.65 billion naira from 2.92 billion, while net interest income rose to 2.29 billion naira from 1.77 billion naira in 2016. The company's profits before tax increased to 820 million naira from 803 million naira earlier reported in 2016, and profit after tax soared to 631.89 million naira, while its earnings per share increased to 28 kobo, up from 24 kobo reported in 2016. Sell-offs dominate the second session of trading in the new month at the local equities markets as short-term investors continue to reap from key bellwether equities. Chimezie Obiwagu tells us more.
Thank you for joining us on Stock Market Report. Investors at the equities market traded cautiously today ahead of the MPC's decisions. The all-share index dropped by 0.26% before the rate announcement. The banking stocks were the major laggards, with the index down 0.92%. Aside from Nigerian breweries that added 10 kobo to its share price, most of the stocks in the consumer goods sector lost, and that dragged down the index. Transaction volume and value were impressive massive. Over 401 million shares were traded for about 6.8 billion naira in 5,370 deals. Investors are now digesting the MPC's do-nothing decisions, and their sentiment is expected to be reflected in Thursday's trading. And that was the stock market report. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwagu. Back to you now, Imana.
Thank you, Chimezie. Well, major world stock markets closed in mixed sentiments, with Wall Street making a strong rebound for earlier losses recorded on Wednesday. Let's see the figures. And that's it on Business News tonight. I'm Imana Amawe. It's back to you, Ladi.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks, Emana. Still ahead on the news at 10, hamstring injury rules out Nigerian forward Obafemi Martins from action in 7 months, ending his hopes of appearing in this year's World Cup in Russia. That's on the sports news. Please stay on with us.